Welcome to chess, ladies and gentlemen. Well, kind of. So I've just been kind of skim watching the Queen's Gambit. I don't have a lot of time, so what I wanted to try to get out of it was to see if I can get any complete games out of it, so I can do some analysis on the games. So far, I've just been watching the first episode, so I'm not too far in. There were three different games that happened up to this point. You know, the first two games are like really super miniatures. Then there was this game that I thought was kind of interesting. It's a third encounter that Mr. Shaibel and Beth Harmon, Elizabeth Harmon, played. And this is when she got really kind of good. And so, there's four initial moves that are made in the game. There's a fifth move made by Mr. Shaibel, but you can't see what it is, and then they basically just jump to this completely just random position. I was able to actually take pictures of the position so I could recreate it here on my chessboard, and so I duplicated it, and so I'll just kind of just do a little bit of light analysis on that particular position, and kind of what you're seeing when you get to that position and stuff like that. So if you guys are ready, let's just take a look at it real quick. All right, so we start the game off with e4. Very old move. It's been said that e4 is best by test. It's pretty strong, pretty strong first move. And so, as a follow up, we have e5. So just keeping things, open and, just kind of copying what White's doing. And so we have knight to f3, just attacking the pawn on e5. And then we have knight to c6. Now, like I said, at this point in the game, Mr. Shaibel makes a move, so you hear him make a move, but you don't see exactly what move he played. And then they just jump forward. Let me get to the position. Okay, so they jump forward to this position here, and it is now Beth's turn to move. But before we do the move, if you want to just take a look at the position real quick, and just kind of some things that jump out at you. So, we see that White has, split pawns here on the king side. Kind of a little damaged structure. Black has these double pawns right here, which, these two things, not always, but, compared to, your general, side-by-side pawn structure, you have to handle it with some care. They're not going to be as easy to handle as, like a completely healthy pawn structure, but, it just depends on the position if they're going to be kind of won or lost. And then, you see the kind of the same thing over here. You see the double pawns and, the pawn on the side, and, same thing for White. And so, like I said, that by itself doesn't just mean that somebody's winning or losing. There's so many different factors you have to consider when you're calculating those positions or when you're evaluating those positions and stuff like that. But, you see Black has a bishop and a knight against White's knights. And so what you would probably say right here in this particular position, that this bishop is stronger than this, like, if you were comparing the two minor pieces, this bishop and knight combination is stronger than White's two knight combination, just simply because the board is very open. So when you're looking at the position, you see that, there's so much space. And so, usually bishops are going to be doing better in a spatial type of game. If you had a lot more pawns in the center and a lot less, like, diagonals open, then you would say that the knights were doing a little better. So, if you're evaluating it based on that, that's kind of something that you'll look at. Now, in this particular position, like I said, it's Beth's turn to move. Something else I want you to note for the position too is the fact that this rook is in the corner and it's almost not being used. So that's one of the more major factors in the position. So even though you have everything somewhat equal as far as structure and as far as like just kind of minor pieces and things like that, you'll see that this rook is on a completely open file. And this rook is just kind of in the corner. So, one of the ways that you can evaluate positions sometimes is like, even if everything is exactly the same, if somebody has a certain piece that's kind of immovable, or it hasn't been moved, or it's kind of stuck in a corner, or then if you can look at a position and say, man, it kind of looks like they're not even using that piece. You guys have seen some of the games that I've analyzed where basically, there's a piece that's trapped in a corner or something, or on the edge of the board, and it's literally just useless. And so it's almost a situation where you kind of have a piece up on somebody. So if you're looking at the position here, you have this knight that compares to this knight, this bishop compares to this knight, and this rook is completely, there's no way you can compare it to this rook. because like I said, it's on this open file here. It has movability on this rank. It just really has the ability to kind of go anywhere it wants to. And it's also having a very big impact on this king being able to move. This king can't move at all. The king is actually only able to move to this square. And so in the game, in the movie, in the miniseries, actually, so Beth, she goes ahead and pushes the pawn to f4. And so, you have a couple different options, as far as this position goes. I mean, you can move the knight back here. You can move the knight back here, move it over here. There's, you have a couple different options. So, I mean, you don't want to really move it there because, it's just going to get taken. But, and so the things, so he goes ahead and and Mr. Shaibel moves the knight to here. And then Beth pushes the pawn here. And so the thing about this particular position is the knight is now in check from a discovered attack. And so you're discovering attack here on the king, and then you're also attacking this knight here that's on g2. And so this is what we call a double attack. And so the only really kind of logical thing for you to do in this particular position is to move the knight back so that you can block the situation. In a second, I'll go over the alternate variations and stuff like that. But in this particular situation, we have a combination that comes up. So she goes ahead and she takes knight here with bishop to e3 check. And then, really your only move in this position is to take here because, if you were to move king over, so let's just say, for example, the king just says, I'm going to sidestep that, right? You're going to run into checkmate right here. And so you definitely don't want to go into that variation. But the other alternative isn't very much better. And so, he goes ahead and takes here on e3 with the pawn, and then you push this, push this pawn to f2. And now you kind of have a situation where you have what we like to call, it's a dumb knight. And so basically this knight is kicked away by the pawn, and it doesn't have the ability to reposition itself in a situation where it can capture the pawn going to f1. And so this pawn here is going to be queening without any type of resistance. And sometimes you'll see situations where you'll have a so we'll just back up here into the other possibilities and stuff. All right. And so sometimes you'll have a situation where like the king will be here and maybe the knight will be right next to it in the the diagonal square from it, and you might have a back rank situation in that you can bring the rook down and actually back rank mate a king, and then actually it would be on this file here. So a rook might come down here and the knight might be right next to the king, but the knight can't defend, and the knight is blocking the king's only retreat square. So we kind of call that a dumb knight. Let me see here. So in this particular position, I mean, like I said, you can make multiple moves, but the problem is, so let's just say we just take another alternative move here. You're going to have this check. It's not going to be a discovery on the knight, but it's still going to be checking the king. And so, like I said before, that rook being on that file, you don't have the ability to go back this way. So you'd have to go back this way. And so the only move is here. And then you would also, you would have checkmate again. And so pretty much anywhere else you move the knight other than g2, it's going to end up in being checkmate. And because, of course, this square is taken away by the pawn. And so, yeah, that is the third game in their encounter. The first two games are just kind of a little earlier, they were like kind of little training games, I guess you can say. So that is that, guys. I'm going to be watching more of the series, and I'm going to be, trying to get more of the actual games down so I can bring those actual full games to you guys and analyze them and stuff like that. So I appreciate you stopping by. And like I put it before, go ahead and hit that subscribe button for me and give me some comments and some feedback. And, if there's any other, if there are any specific games in the series that I haven't gotten up to yet that you want me to cover, let me know, and I'll see about making a video for that. All right, see you guys next time.